So, I am doing this video for my cause of chasing freedom. And I had a hard time deciding to actually go forward and actually make the GoFundMe. Part of me has this pride that says, do I really want to ask for help? And do I want people to think my business isn't successful? Or there was a lot of ego at risk there. And I did realize at some point that, I have not gotten to where I am in life by not asking for help. And I also know that I'm limited for myself and what I can accomplish. I've been working on this for about 2 years now, fairly intensely. And no matter how hard I try, it seems like we're not getting where we need to be quick enough. There is a time period for this. I can buckle down and I can save and pinch pennies and work harder, and I've done quite a bit of that. Unfortunately, that also entails the fact that the government is not slowing down in any way, shape, or form and turning us into a police state. The collapse of the dollar is going to happen who knows when, and it seems like it's going to happen sooner every day. Our economy is, in danger of freezing up at any time. We had the government shutdown not long ago, and they closed the passport offices. And that's scary. There will be ways in which they limit travel when things go down the toilet. And the intensity to get out of this country has increased. Now, there are a lot of reasons that I want to leave the United States. Now, my whole life I've been a libertarian. I was raised in a libertarian household, and I grew up around activists, around people who were working harder than most people would ever even think of towards achieving a better country, towards achieving anything close to what the Constitution had outlined for us. For a long time I've been an advocate for small government and limited government, and it's only in recent years that I realized that that's, and as my father likes to put it, it's like looking for a government that's like asking to be just a little bit pregnant. 2 weeks pregnant is perfect. Let's just stay there. And the reality is if you're 2 weeks pregnant, you're either going to be more than 2 weeks pregnant at some point, or you're going to abort. And those are really the only two options from there. And I feel the same way about government. That feeling aside, during the Ron Paul campaign, I think a lot of people who are going to see this video know that I was very active in the movement, probably obsessively active in the movement. I was the Pennsylvania sign bomb leader, and I helped to get leaders all across the country and even across the world. I helped to organize sign parties and meetups and get people involved in any way. I was quite the liberty troll. I would post for the money bombs on every possible page. Had my Facebook account frozen multiple times because of spammy activity and whatnot. And I've always worked to develop my debate skills as much as possible. I learned a long time ago that while it's easy, and I still do slip into the angry, what the heck is wrong with you? Why can't you understand this? Don't you realize that you're just a bully? That kind of conversation does not go over well with people. And people don't care what you know until they know that you care. So I've worked very hard on trying to find those areas where I can identify with the liberal, with the conservative, and bring them to those things that we both agree need to be free, and help teach them that freedom is good there, so it's also good in other areas. And it's an easier way to take someone by the hand and carry them over to a concept than to take a truth and try to shove it down their throat. I have a friend who has a mentor, And that mentor had told him that the truth isn't the truth anymore when you're shoving it down someone's throat. It really does not matter the merits of your case. No one will ever come to your side if that's how you're doing it. So those are the areas where I've been working on myself for a long time. And unfortunately, I've had to take a huge step back from the liberty movement in recent years, primarily because I've been working very hard to grow my business. It was a supplemental income situation, and my daughter's father and I had split up, and it was suddenly my only source of income. And where it would have been easier to go on welfare and kick my feet up and collect a check and stay home, play with her, homeschool, all of those cute little things I could have done, I couldn't. Not being me, I couldn't do that. So I've been working my buns off for a long time. And I've grown into a pretty successful business. I wish there was more of me. I don't have enough time to train someone else to do anything, and I've got too much work for myself. So that's a good place to be. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to dedicate to the causes I care about, the causes of liberty. And I do not believe that working into the local level, getting into all of these fields of politics is going to be beneficial at this stage. There's going to be a collapse. Things are going to break down. And this is going to be a dangerous place to raise a child. There's a growing movement to end homeschooling in this country. And they will eventually force children into public schools, and eventually every single one of those public schools will be filled with men with guns, as they're starting to be all over the country. Children and Youth, Department of Youth and Family Services, whatever it's called in your state, they're overzealous. They snatch children out of homes for arbitrary reasons. Meanwhile, kids that really probably could use the help are looked over or are stuck in homes that are equally bad. And I fear for my child. I'm afraid to be in the U.S. And I know there are going to be a lot of people who are going to argue that this is the best country in the world. It's the number one country. It's the freest country. And the numbers say and show that they're wrong. The only thing we are number one in this whole world is the amount of people in prison. And I see a lot of people go to prison for victimless crimes. I'm a recovering addict over 5.5 years now. And I watch nice little white boys get drug court, which is a system where they get caught with a drug, and they're allowed to just kind of they're grounded. They have to show up to a PO, and they have to pay fines, and basically they're bilked for every penny they have while they're sent from one program to a next from the government that does not work or has a very low success rate, and thrown back in jail every time they don't comply. Meanwhile, I see Black and Latino people in the exact same situation with the exact same charge, or at least the exact same crime of having the exact same amount thrown into jail for the rest of their lives. So I see the injustice. I see that good people are thrown in jail and left to rot. We have debtor's prison in this country. You see single mothers and fathers being thrown in jail for non-payment of child support. And so often in these cases, no one ever agreed to be a long-term provider of anything to anyone. And I don't believe it's right to use force or the threat of force, especially in cases of money. One of the greatest progresses we've had in human freedom was, not having debtor's prison. And here we are. We have debtor's prison. People are thrown in jail, their licenses are taken away, and they're not able to get a job. And then when they can't get a job because they keep getting thrown in jail and aren't allowed to drive, then they, can't pay the child support anyway. The kid never gets the money. They end up in jail all the time. And on what basis? What breach of contract? There are 1,000,001 reasons why this country is going to hell. And I admit that there are a million and one reasons why other countries are going to hell too, including the one I plan on heading to. I mean, there's recently a new president came in, and she's quickly trying to reverse every single thing that was making the economic freedom in Chile fantastic. But the point is, in the event of an economic collapse, Chile is one of the largest food producers in the world. They have very rich farmland. About 60% of the population in Chile lives in and around Santiago. So if it became necessary to even get out of the cities, there's plenty of room to get out and homestead if needed. I mean, worst case scenario. They have the largest copper mines in the world, and that entire part of their economy is funded by China. And in the event of a US dollar collapse, the Chinese economy, manufacturing economy, is still going to be somewhat stable compared to everywhere else. So that's another upside for that. I don't like thinking like this. I have family members who point out, oh, you're crazy and it's never going to happen here. And my only answer to them is, I hope you're right, but I would rather be prepared. I understand that moving out of the country is a very, very difficult thing to do for a lot of people. I know people who agree with me and they can't leave because they've shared custody of a child and they can't leave the country, or they have family members that they have to take care of here that wouldn't be up for the move. They feel like they're too old to learn a new language. There are a lot of things that hold people back. And when things get bad enough, I want to be in a position to help people get out. I would have loved to say a whole lot of things about what we'd like to do for the cause once in Chile, but I don't want to make any promises until I get there and I really see what I can do best with my time. The point is that with the money that I make now on a monthly basis via my business, which can be run from anywhere, that money will go so much further in Chile. I can have a standard of living that allows me to spend time with my child, raise her peacefully, teach her the values of liberty, freedom, voluntarism. These are things that are important to me and that I think we need to focus much more on raising the next generation to value freedom. And I can use more of that time to participate in the education of others. It's not going to be won politically. The peaceful revolution is going to be impossible. And, a violent revolution is inevitable at this point. I don't care to be where the guns are firing. And I know there are a lot of people who are willing to stay and fight for the freedom, but I have to argue that staying in the United States to fight for freedom for your neighbors is a war of aggression, because our neighbors don't want freedom. They don't know what it is. If they do, they don't want it. There's no desire for it. And I have a hard time wanting to fight to give my neighbors something they don't want, nor do they value. This country has no desire. And the best we can do is try to educate people about what freedom is and what it entails and how it could work. There are so many different ways that a fully libertarian or voluntary society can work. And the beautiful thing about a voluntary society is we don't have to have all of the answers. The whole point is that there are going to be so many people coming up with their own answers that we don't have to come up with it all. It's not a top-down system. But the trick to that is to survive long enough to carry the message of freedom, and also to survive and thrive in a way that you have the time to participate in sharing that message. I know for me, it's been a long few years of wake up, work, and I have a fellowship that I participate in, which takes up a large portion of my time, which honestly I can't complain about, because it's the only reason I have any time at all, even on this earth. So I owe quite a bit to that. And then I go to bed, and I hardly have enough time to even spend with my child. And when I do, I feel guilty for not working harder to get us out of the country and when I'm working hard to get us out of the country, I feel guilty that I'm not spending time with my child. And it's a never-ending stressful situation. So I am asking for help. I am asking for anyone out there who agrees and understands that we are at the brink of a huge economic collapse. Anyone out there who understands what it's like to know that the production of your labor is going to fund wars of aggression all around the world that are killing innocents, to know that I have the option of getting out, expatriating, and not having to fund that kind of murder anymore, and yet I'm here and I'm still doing it. You know, anyone who understands the fear of the police state coming into our homes and coming into our lives and coming between us and our children, anyone who knows why I'm doing what I'm doing, to help me get this off the ground. We want so badly to get out, to establish a way for people who are like-minded to get out as well, to survive long enough to carry the message of freedom. If every last person who knows what we're fighting for dies from the military state when the world goes downhill, who's going to share our story? You know, and liberty is needed everywhere. You know, this idea that because I was born in some arbitrary geographical border, that I signed some sort of social contract that says the fruits of my labor belong to whichever group is in charge of that chunk of land this week. It's insane. You know, where are the human rights in that? That I am bidden to the United States because I happen to be born on their soil. It's who said it's your soil to begin with? And what gives you a right to my life and the product of my labor? And I feel that way for everyone anywhere in the world. You know, it's a dangerous kind of logic to think that, you know, country before principles. You know, it's the people in the United States. I have love for them, but I have love for all of the people in the world because they're people just like me. Not because they're standing under one flag or another. That has nothing to do with the fact that they're human beings and that human rights matter. And maybe we need people in other countries, because it's apparent this country has gone so far they don't want to know how to live free. And maybe elsewhere they will. I'm praying that when I get a masterful enough handle of Spanish, that maybe I can start spreading these ideas throughout Latin America as well. You know, they're important ideas. I also know that I've been talking for quite a bit, and I'm not sure if I'm actually going to post this. You know, there's a lot of ums and pauses, but I just wanted to give the real story of why I want to get out. And I know other people in my family want to do the same. But again, please help